see the next technique in percentages, smart cuts. You heard about shortcuts, right? Then what is this smart cuts? Now thinking a bit smarter, okay? Now, let's posit an example like this. A number like 5, 8, 7, 4. Okay. Now without really doing any calculation, we can access so many percentages. For example, if you want to access to 10% of this number, 10% of this number, do nothing, just put a decimal before the last number and that's it. Now assume like this, 5,874 rupees or $5,874, and you want to give somebody 10% of that money. Okay, so how much you have to pay him? You must pay him 587.4, either rupees or dollars or any currency. Okay, so that's it. Just put a decimal point before the last number. It gives you 10% of that amount. Okay, now if you want to calculate, instead of 10%, 1% of this amount, especially in India, people sometimes they want to offer God 2% of their salary or 1% of their income. Okay, so they have to calculate that. How do you calculate that? Very simple. You want to calculate 1% of this number, do nothing but just put decimal point after two places. It gives you 1% of this given number. Now, assume like this, 5,874 rupees or $5,874, and you want to give 1% of that amount to somebody. It would be $58.74 or 58 rupees and 74 pice. Okay, something like that. Okay, now here we are very easily able to access to 10% and 1%. Now with this again we can access to many other percentages. Now for example, if you want to access to 5% of this amount, okay, very simple. Now when I put a decimal point here, it becomes 10%, right? Now make it half, it becomes 5%. So 10 by 2, you get 5. Okay, so this becomes 10%. Half of this, you get 5%. So how to make it half? Divide by 2. So you already know technique how to divide using short division method. 2 2s are 4, remainder 1. 2 9s are 18. 2 3s are 6, remainder 1. The point is there, get one point here, and 7. That's it. So 293.7 will become 5% of 5874. Now, if you want to access to some other percentages, something like this. You want to access to 2%. Okay, this is a commission usually some of the people get in their business or with some dealings. Okay, and you want to calculate that. Very simple. Now, when you put a decimal point here, it becomes 1%, right? Now double it, you get 2%. So double it. Okay, come on. 10 means 11, 6 means 7. So point, get on point as is down, and then 4, and then 8. That's it. Now 2% of 58.74 is 117.48. Okay. Now we can access to many other percentages also, like this. You want to access to 99% of this number. Okay. Now 5874 is 100%. Got it? So minus 1% you get 99%, right? So 5874 minus 58.74 will give you 99%. So what you must do is put a decimal point and add 2 more zeros. Okay, now you can subtract. Okay, 100% minus 1% will give you 99%. You already know the technique how to subtract using the complements. Okay, come on, subtract. Okay, 58 match, so write 58 only. 7 minus 5 is 2, but mismatch, make it 1. 8 complement 2, 2 plus 4 is 6, but next place mismatch, so write as 5. 7 complement 3, but mismatch 2, and 4 complement 6. Okay, now where was the point, decimal point? Out here, just put it, that's it. So 99% of 5874 is 5815.26. Now we can also access to many other percentages, like if you want to access to something like this, you want to access to 101%. Okay, now usually there's a tax what we pay at the airport. Whatever we buy, they charge 1 or 2%, 1 or 3%, 110%. Okay, So whatever we buy, when we show the bill, so they'll calculate the 100% again 10% of that amount. Okay, so how do you calculate that? Now you want to access to 101% of this. Very simple. Now 5874 is 100%. 100% plus 1% will give you 101%. So 100% plus 1% is 58.74. Now add this, you'll get 101%. You know addition from left to right. So 58 is a carry number, so it becomes 59. And number 2 carry number, so 3. And number 2 non-carry 2 only, 7 and 4. That's it. So 101% of 5874 is 5932.74. Okay, we can access so many percentages. We can access to 95%, we can access to 110%, 105%, and so forth. There's so many other percentages we can access to. Now, suddenly you want to access to a percentage like this. You want to access to 30% of this. Very simple. Now, put a point here, this becomes 10%. Multiply by 3, you get 30%. As simple as that. Okay? So, 3 5s are 15, 3 8s are 24, 3 7s are 21, 3 4s are 12. So, 2, 2, 6 and 1 7. Decimal for the last number and that's it. So, 30% of 5874 is 1762.2. So, using this method, we can access to many percentages without really working really hard, like without making complicated calculations. We can access to such a percentages instantly.